and welcome to Reliving My Youth. My name is Noel Fogelman. My guest this week is actor Jim J Bullock. When I started this podcast over 9 years ago, Jim was one of my most desired guests, and I'm so thankful I finally had a chance to talk with him. Jim is probably best known for portraying Monroe on Too Close for Comfort. I would love the way Ted Knight would say his name, Monroe. He talks about his time on the show, working with Ted, and his favorite episode. The show also featured one of the most underrated theme songs in TV history. Jim was also a regular on Hollywood Squares. He also hosted a couple times and filled in for Joan Rivers when she was away as the center square. He also was a recurring character on Alf, playing Willie Tanner's brother. And who can forget his role as Prince Valium in Mel Brooks' Spaceballs? The sequel is coming up. Jim lets me know whether or not he's in it. He also voiced the title character of Queer Duck, a Showtime adult animated show, which was fantastic. And he fills us in what he's up to these days. I really enjoyed my conversation with Jim, and I hope you do as well. So, Jim, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And happy Halloween, by the way.
Hey, happy Halloween.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So, we're recording this on Halloween, and you have any plans? Go trick-or-treating today or anything like that? What do you got going on?
No, I live in a 55 plus community, so if there were any trick-or-treaters, it'd be creepy. I've never had any, there's, no children in my where I live.
Right.
But I do go out, like I'm not going out and I'm not going in costume. Last year I went in costume. I went to a party, but tonight I'm just going to a friend's house to watch a movie. So
Nice. Yeah.
that's my big Halloween.
Right. Nice. Yeah. I'll go trick-or-treating with the kids later tonight.
I love that. That's great. What are they going as?
My daughter, I don't think she really has a costume. Like, I told you before, she'll be in the wheelchair tonight. So she just got a bunch of lights to put on the wheelchair and
Good.
pull. But, sympathy. So she'll get a lot, probably more candy that she would have normally gotten. So that's good. And my youngest is going as the Mandalorian from Star Wars. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so easy enough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's great
And
because
what time will you go out trick or treating?
um we're meeting friends, so they want to go like 6 o'clock. So it's like
Uh,
perfect. Get it done, get it out of the way, so we can go back,
yeah.
and just relax tonight and watch like some scary movies or whatnot. And it's great because like they get so much candy, but they hardly ever eat. They eat a little bit of it, but it doesn't look like they've even touched it. And then you put it away, and then you forget about it, and you end up just throwing it out. So
Oh my God. I ate every bit of candy I
yeah,
was ever given. And
right.
I was back in the day growing up in the 60s where you would get candied apples, like homemade
Yeah,
cotton candy balls,
right.
made out of
Yeah.
popcorn.
Oh, I remember those
And,
too. Yeah.
I mean, you would get homemade treats, and that is
Yeah.
gone the
Oh,
way of
yeah.
the world. But
Yeah. I think people are
yeah,
afraid to hand out the homemade treats now.
of course they are,
Yeah,
and that's unfortunate
it
because,
is.
there's so much better than the crap you buy in the
Oh, of
store.
course. Yeah. I know. I remember sometimes I would get like peanut brittle and I was so mad. I was like, this is awful.
Oh yeah, because you always wanted the candy.
Yeah,
You wanted the Hershey's and the Butterfingers,
exactly.
but
Right.
no, almost like some shitty popcorn ball.
Yeah, right. Or a couple like pennies. I would get pennies here and there. I'm like, thanks.
I got money too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when people felt really guilty that they didn't get the
Didn't have
candy.
anything. Yeah, exactly. Let me see what I got here.
Here-
Oh crap.
Here's a
Here's
here's
some.
a couple of pennies.
Exactly. Now it's like, oh, I don't have any cash here. Scan my Venmo.
Oh my
Something.
God, that's so
Yeah.
funny. I haven't
Yeah.
thought of that in a long time.
Yeah. But Halloween's great because it's the one day a year where you can go with a mask, knock on someone's door and demand something. And you do
Yeah,
it
all
any
right.
other day of the year, you get arrested.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It's
That's a
great.
that's an interesting way to look at
Yeah, no,
it.
it's great. But also it brings to mind like on like social media, it always gets brought up the Paul Lynn Halloween special. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Oh yeah, no, I was
Oh,
just on TikTok last night and I watched probably the first 5 minutes of it.
Oh my God. It's amazing. It should be like required. You know how they show like the Ten Commandments every year or like Wizard of Oz?
Yes,
They should put that
or
on TV on a loop for 24
Frosty
hours.
at Christmas. That should be every
Yeah.
Halloween. That should be playing on a loop. Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, like Margaret Hamilton, like Kiss. I
No,
mean, Tim Conway, Billy Barr. I mean, like it's just a cast of characters to say the
Betty
least.
White.
Yeah, Betty White.
Uh,
Like,
I
yeah,
mean, really,
it's,
really.
yeah. And yeah, you kind of miss those from the 70s because that was like the decade of the
Yeah,
variety shows, and I wish they would
yeah.
bring those back because those were fantastic.
Yeah, I do too. I miss a lot of things like about television that were, happening when I was a kid. But it's all changed so
Yeah,
very, very, very much.
right.
It's so different now. I don't even pretend to act like I know anything about it anymore.
No, yeah, I mean, there's so many shows, and it's like, oh, you watch this one? No, and it's because it's on 9 million different platforms, and there's
Right.
like no more water cooler shows because it's not on the same time every day of the week, and everyone if they're watching
Exactly.
it, oh, don't tell me because I'm on season one, and there's like 12 seasons of a shirt, and it's like, oh, great,
Right, right.
yeah, I can't catch up.
Our shared experiences are less and less
Yeah,
because you're right, and television is one of those factors. I think we all watched the moon landing. We all watched
right,
Michael Jackson do the moonwalk.
exactly,
I mean, those were things that were like we did as a nation and a
right,
world, I guess.
yeah.
And it's all like I'll watch it later. I'm TiVoing it or whatever they do.
Yeah,
Know?
exactly. Or you see like a snippet of it on like social media, and then like, oh, good, I'm all caught up. When you start really
Yeah,
2 minutes of an hour show
yeah.
or something like that. Yeah, yeah. Is there like a comfort show you have that you'll watch at night to like kind of fall asleep to?
Yeah, it's hardly sounds like a comfort show, but I love Breaking Bad so much,
Okay, right.
and I've watched Breaking Bad in its entirety
Yeah,
probably 5 or 6 times, and
so
and
good.
then Better Call Saul
Yeah,
I've watched maybe twice or
right.
3 times. Uh, I really love that show. First off, that show was shot in New Mexico, which is
Yeah.
very much looks like where I grew up in West Texas.
Okay.
So there's a quality about it that I don't know, I really am drawn to, but it's just so damn good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like he was like watching him when he was on like Malcolm in the Middle when he was kind of a goofball character, or like when he played on Seinfeld, and you see him just in such a dramatic role. He nailed it. I mean, and the finale
Oh,
was amazing. One of the best of all time, I feel. And it's just breaking and Better Call Saul could have been
I
like
know.
maybe even better. I don't know. It changes every day in my ranking because that was just so good too.
Yeah, Vince,
Vince Gilligan. Yeah.
Vince Gilligan. I was going
Yeah.
to say Vince Gill.
Yeah.
No, Vince Gill's a country
Yeah.
singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vince Gilligan. He sure hit the nail on the head with those shows. I
Yeah.
mean, those will be go down in the history of being, I think, the greatest TV shows of
Yeah.
of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. And he started out on the X-Files, which was another fantastic show. So, yeah. So, so
He
you were,
did. I
yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah. He was like one of the executive producers, like showrunners on that show. So,
When that show was on the air back, what was it,
like the
like
90s. Yeah.
90s?
Yeah.
Uh, my agent got a call from the X Files and they
Okay.
said, "We're looking for a Jim J Bullock type." And they said, "Oh, wow, we represent Jim J Bullock." And says, "No, we don't want Jim J Bullock. We want a Jim J Bullock type."
Um, yeah. Like, that's when you should have went by like James and made up a last name and then, get on the show.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I never
It's so
understood that,
funny.
they want this type, but they don't want the person. That just
That
doesn't make any
yeah,
sense.
it's odd, but each their own.
Yeah, exactly. And that show was on before like TiVo and like DVRs, so it was on Sunday night at 9 o'clock in the East Coast, and everyone knew I watched it, but everyone had a call during that hour. So it's like, oh, parents call, friends call. It's like, don't call me during this hour. It's just like I gotta watch the show. But it's just like everyone knew. It's like, oh, 9 o'clock on Sunday, let's call Noel.
to come
You
on.
know, I felt that way. Remember a show called 24?
Oh, I love that show. So good.
Oh God,
Yeah.
that show was geared. It was so you were so tense and
Yeah.
so on the edge of your seat, and like you wouldn't dare leave the
Yeah.
TV. And then the commercial breaks was like, go do everything, go to the
Exactly.
bathroom
Run.
and get
Yeah.
whatever you need, and get
Right.
back and no calls, no
Yeah.
calls.
Right.
Oh my God, I
Yeah.
love that
I know.
show.
Yeah. You can't go to the bathroom because Keith Sutherland never went to the bathroom
No,
in the
no,
24
hey, just get
hours.
a jar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Well, but yeah, that show was absolutely fantastic, you know.
Sutherland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kiefer
God,
Sutherland. Yeah. That was
so
great.
good.
Yeah. But let's talk about some of your shows, which were amazing.
Whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. You know, and when I mentioned like a comfort show, you know, Too Close for Comfort, which was unbelievable. I mean, just, and that show brought obviously Ted Knight, who was, you know, on Mary Tyler Moore from, you know, the 70s, one of the legends, and also who guest starred, I think, the second and third season, Audrey Meadows, who was a legend in the
Yeah.
50s and stuff like that on the Honeymooners. So it was kind of rare to see like, you know, legends from previous decades be on a show. I mean, Ted was still, you know, Ted and like, drove that show, but just talk about your experience, you know, in like getting the role of Monroe Ficus.
Well, it was my first. It was 1980, and I was 23, I think. Anyway, around there, and so that was my whole. That's what I wanted. You know, I grew up in Texas, and I came out here, and I wanted to be on a sitcom, and I wanted to be famous. And so I went to 2 years of college, and I like left college and came out to LA because that's what I wanted to pursue. And so Too Close for Comfort came out of me doing stand up. I did stand up for I kind of had a crazy agent who got me involved in stand up. And then through stand up, I got ABC, put me on a contract. And so it was during that year that I was on contract with ABC, and their whole point of the contract is they put you on contract to hold you to their network.
Right.
So, you know, if something comes up and you're right for it. And so they started looking for places for me to go, and I went in and auditioned for Too Close for Comfort. It wasn't on the air yet, and I didn't read. I met with the producers and had a really nice talk with them, and I felt really good about it. And I left, and I never heard from them. And then, like 3 months later, the network, they were still looking for this Monroe guy.
Right.
And you know, their whole idea of Monroe was they were going to go sort of Woody Allen-ish, sort of that type of
Okay.
character. And so I was not type at all for what they were looking for.
Right.
And anyway, when I went in, I got to read for them this time. And then they brought me back. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Call back after call back. And so, yeah, I initially got it, and I had 2 weeks, 2 guaranteed weeks.
Okay.
I had Monroe's Doctrine and Que Sera Sera or something.
Right.
And Que Sera Sera. It was Que Sera Sera. And all I knew is I was on a brand new big sitcom.
Yeah.
And I was making $1,500 a week as a guest star, and wow! So Ted is really, I think, the driving force. Him and Arnie Sultan,
Okay.
who was the executive producer,
Right.
really locked in to what Ted and I had together. You know, Ted couldn't be mean to his daughters all the time or his wife, and that's sort of he needed someone to a
Like a
whipping
foil.
boy.
Right. Yeah.
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 So I had no idea, but what I was doing, I
Huh.
didn't even like develop this character. It's not like I sat home and went, yeah, Monroe will do a lot of this and Mr.
Yeah.
Rush and raise his voice really high. And I didn't, that's all because I was nervous, and
Right.
that just happened. And that's just who I was at the
Yeah.
time. And it worked. And they kept bringing me back on that whole first season. And then near the end of the first season, they took me on as a regular, and I was there for the rest of the run of the show.
Yeah. And the physicality that, you portrayed was great. Like during that time, like, John Ritter was on Three's Company and he was like the king of physicality. Did you like, was there anyone you studied to like kind of pick up on your physicality? Comedian?
No, I can't say I studied anyone. You would just see it, and
Yeah.
you see Jerry Lewis do it,
Right.
and
Yeah.
all these people that I grew up with, and being physical. And I thought it was the Three Stooges. I grew up on the
Yeah.
Three
Right.
Stooges. Uh, so no, that just came very natural. Fortunately, I'm pretty strong-boned person, and I
Yeah.
don't, break easily.
Right.
And so, and I was actually very athletic for not being athletic.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So was there like, I mean, the on-screen chemistry was great between you and Ted. Did you have a similar like kind of chemistry off screen?
Oh yeah, I love Ted, and Ted was like he was really like a dad to me, because my father and my mom, boy, once I got into television, they my dad said,
Yeah.
son, I don't know how to give you any advice and what you're
Right.
doing or anything. So Ted was great in the sense that he really he liked me. He sort of saw his younger self in me, and he wanted to help me maneuver, this beginning of my career. And so I really felt lucky that I had him. There were some things that he said that I probably should not have done. Like he told me, because I was still doing the Comedy Store on
Right.
Saturday nights, and uh, he said, "Why are you doing that shit, kid? You're on a hit show now."
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and I didn't love stand up to begin with,
Yeah.
but that's all I needed. I was like, I'm out of
I'm
here.
done. Yeah.
And had I continued my stand-up career, it probably would have helped me through some of the rougher times, because when Too Close happens, you I was young and stupid and
Yeah.
naive, and I thought, oh, this is the way it is now. It's
Right.
gonna You didn't think about it ending,
Yeah.
and everything ends. Usually for every actor, there's high times and there's low times. And
Right.
so had I had something like stand up, for instance, that could have been a mainstay for me throughout,
Yeah.
but I did what I did. And so,
Yeah.
but he gave me a lot of great advice, as well as a couple of things that maybe weren't that great.
Right. Exactly. As long as it was more positive than negative, I
Yeah.
guess, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was known on the show for wearing all those college sweatshirts. And fans actually sent in sweatshirts, right? Hoping that he would wear them.
Oh yeah, there were like in the third, fourth year, there were like they had
Right.
storerooms with sweatshirts. I mean, there
Wow.
were so many,
Yeah.
and who knew? That was just something that, just kind of happened. I don't
Right.
think that was no grand design. I mean, Too Close for Comfort, there was no grand design. It was not like a Vince Gilligan show where
Exactly.
I think Vince Gilligan went, okay, Breaking Bad is going to start here and it's ending here. And
Right.
this is all going to happen
Happen. Right.
here during this.
Yeah.
Too Close with, sort of fly by the seat of his pants.
Right.
And like, for instance, my name was Monroe and my last name was Ficus.
Yeah.
And my father was dead.
Okay.
But then all of a sudden, oh, my dad's coming to visit me.
Right. He lives in
Played
Florida
by
now.
Pat Paulson.
Right.
And it was like, wait, a writer, a producer. Didn't I say in an earlier episode that my father had passed on? And they said, nah, no one remembers
Yeah.
that shit, kid. And that was sort of their philosophy: is no
Right.
one remembers that
Remembers
shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's happened on a bunch of other shows too, where it's just like, whatever. You have a brother? No, not anymore. Just
Right. I know Nancy, when she had little baby
yeah,
Andrew, there was like a whole season building up to that. And then the third season launched with the birth and everything. And then as time went on, they realized it's expensive to have a child on set, an input on set. You
Yeah.
have to have two babies, and you have to
Right.
have a
Exactly.
person who does baby voices. And you know, it was a whole fleet of people that comes with having
Yeah.
an infant. So it was less and less of baby Andrew, and Nancy Dussault's going, wait a minute, hey guys, I have a kid running around here somewhere.
Yeah.
I think at least I should acknowledge him and say, baby Andrew, what are you doing down there?
Right.
Or just write something like, you don't have to show the kid, but just
Exactly.
let me
Just acknowledge
acknowledge to
him.
the audience that baby Andrew's
Yeah.
playing at my feet.
Right. Yeah.
Poor baby Andrew.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like they're deadbeat parents and they forgot about the kid somewhere, right? Just acknowledge him. Yeah. It always seems like, a sitcom, will bring in like a kid, oh, let's do a birth now or something like that.
Yeah, up the rating.
Yeah. And so,
I guess it does. I don't know. I think it did,
yeah.
but it was more the age factor, I think, of Ted Knight being,
Yeah.
in his late 50s. If you're put any realism to it, then Nancy was 43 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So, yeah. Were there any favorite episodes that you had?
There's always a bunch of favorite episodes. I always say my favorite episode was my first episode,
Okay.
Monroe's Doctrine.
Right.
And I mean, it was just, I was just a kid in the candy shop.
Yeah.
And I mean, all of a sudden this dream had come true, and I was on and something I was going to mention about that first episode is Monroe had a lot of funny business in that first episode. And I had heard stories. This is back in the early '80s when, like, Laverne and Shirley on their show, there would be assistants with time stopwatches,
Okay.
timing the last lines that each of them got. And if a guest star came on the show, I heard horror stories that if they had funny lines, by the end of the week it would be split up between one of the two stars of the show. So I went into this going, Ted's not going to let me have all this funny stuff. Yeah. They're going to whittle it away. But hey, but they didn't. And Ted was very generous, and he was smart in the sense that he knew the better you are, the better I am, the better the show looks. It's a win-win for us all to be our best and our funniest. So I was fortunate for that, because that could have. So that was, in answer to your question, that was such a special episode.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially at the end when they did the toast and you threw the glass right into the fireplace. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to tell you this about that.
Yeah.
You just read my mind, because that sugar glass, okay, what they called sugar glass, or used to call sugar glass.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so old now. It's like, well, back in the day they called it sugar glass, anyway, it was really fiberglass. It was lightweight fiberglass. Well, I thought they meant sugar glass. I thought they meant it was sugar.
Okay.
So we're sitting there we're not doing anything. The whole cast is on, and we're shooting, but we're on a break. And I just bit the rim of the glass and started chewing it, thinking it was sugar.
Yeah.
And of course, Ted and Nancy were horrified because they knew it was fiberglass. Right. And I mean, everyone was just sort of like, "Oh, what have you done?" And the more I chewed, the more I went, "This isn't sugar."
No.
I need to rinse my mouth out. I was, anyway. Yeah. But yes, throwing that antique glass into the fireplace.
Right.
So unexpected. So there were a lot of unexpected things in that episode that were funny.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like right off the bat, you got instant chemistry. Even with the girls too. Like everyone.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I loved the girls. I loved everyone with it. I still see the girls. We do those autograph shows a lot. And it's really great to be with them, and it's great that we're still in touch.
That's
Nancy
awesome.
doesn't really want to partake in them because it is a lot of work,
Right?
But I talked to Nancy. We're all still in touch, and we really did love each other. We really did have a unique family. I mean, I think all TV shows become a family,
Right.
but we really did love each other. I mean, so much so that I think what 45, 50 years. How long ago did that show start?
80,
45
so
years
45
ago.
years ago, yeah.
45 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's a long time.
Yeah. And it has one of the most underrated theme songs of all time. You know, it's just it's good, you know.
Da, 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 da,
Yeah.
da, da, dun, da,
Right.
dun.
Until they changed it for the last season a little bit. And it was just like,
Oh God, I had
yeah, yeah.
yeah. No, I didn't like what they did with the last season, but they were trying to make
Yeah.
magic happen again.
Right. Yeah. What was it after the third season that it got canceled but picked up syndication?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was on ABC, and
Yeah.
then our third season, and we were like in the top 20.
Yeah.
I mean, that was again the difference in the there were three networks back then, and
Right.
being in the top 20 was you still had millions and millions of
Yeah.
viewers every week that were watching you. They don't even go by that anymore. They would be
Yeah.
so happy to what if
Right.
you were in 80th place back in 1980 to have that kind of viewership
Right.
today. But yeah, it was a political thing on ABC, and they decided to cancel us, and it was really horrifying for all of us.
Yeah.
And Ted, then Fox Television, the Fox network was just in its infancy,
Right.
and they wanted to find a couple of shows to do first run syndication.
Okay.
So our show was the first sitcom to ever be picked up for first run syndication, and Fame, the TV show,
Yeah.
was also picked up for
Okay.
first run syndication. So then we went to Fox and stayed there and
Yeah.
until the show ended.
Right. And like then it's like you can't even go by ratings, right? With first run syndication because every city is on a different time and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how they got viewership rate numbers or anything like that, but
Right.
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Like one of my favorite episodes was when Ted had jury duty and he fell asleep during it, which was
Yeah, I'm trying
hysterical.
to remember it. You're gonna have to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he had like a deadline with his cartoon,
The
but he
Cosmic
also
Cow.
Cosmic Cow, and he also had to go to jury duty. So he was up all night trying to get a deadline, and he went to jury duty, and he fell asleep during some testimony, and they were passing a
Easy to
note.
do.
Yeah, exactly. And the witness was afraid to mention because I guess she was attempted rape or something like that. And she didn't want to say what the guy said to her. So she wrote it down on a note and had the jury read it. And so passed it to everybody. And once it got to Ted, he thought the woman next to him was trying to pick him up. So he didn't want to pass it to the person next to him. So he like rips it up and put it in his mouth to eat. And the judge like said, "You got to pass it to the next person." And it was, yeah,
I forgot about that. Yes, you
yeah,
jiggled my brain. So thank
right.
you. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
very funny.
Right. Yeah. Can you watch yourself? Like if you put on like TV and one of your stuff comes on, can you sit and watch?
Uh, to a certain point,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh God, I can't watch anymore. But it's when this was all happening for me. I
Right.
mean, Tuesday nights, I was not a. I mean, I grew up in front of a TV.
Right.
But once I went to college, I really didn't. I don't even think I had a TV,
Yeah.
And then when I moved out to LA, I didn't have a TV. And certainly by the time I did Close for Comfort, I had a TV, but
Right. Right.
I just wasn't watching. I just didn't, I had other things to do with my
Yeah.
evenings than watch TV.
Right.
But Tuesday nights, sacred, man,
Yeah.
because it was that Tuesday night lineup on ABC.
Yeah.
And we were on after Three's Company. Is that right? Or was Three's Company after us? It was Happy Days,
Laverne and Shirley, right?
Laverne and Shirley, uh,
Yeah. I think you might have been after
Three's Company, Too Close for Comfort, and Heart to Heart.
Heart to Heart. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
yes,
Those are
and
those are the days.
I loved watching myself. I would get
Right.
such a
Yeah.
kick out of seeing myself on
Right.
TV, man.
Yeah. Right. I know you said your parents really couldn't give you any advice, but were they supportive?
My dad was always very easy, whatever makes you happy,
Right.
My mother had ideas for what she wanted for me in my life. And
Right.
I also think my mother knew that I was gay long before I told them I was gay.
Right.
She just wanted me to stay close to home in Texas where there's no Mo's.
Oh,
And so,
right.
and or so she thought.
Yeah.
And so, also stay in the church and everything. And so at first she was not happy that I went out to Hollywood.
Right.
Hollywood. But when the show happened, I think that mom and dad both sort of like went, "Oh wow, well, maybe he has something that we didn't know he had."
Right.
And so, of course, they were supportive. But even after Too Close
Oh,
for Comfort ended, my mother was like, "Well, maybe it's time you move home now." And,
yeah.
it's like, "No, mom, no, I'm an actor." So
Yeah.
finally, eventually, she accepted the fact that acting is this and that and this and that and
Exactly.
that. And
Yeah.
so it's good and bad. And it's, it's, it's everything, just like life.
Yeah. I mean, everyone gets canceled, right? At one point in life.
Right.
Yeah. But it's what you do next and how you respond, right? And
Right. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Yeah. So how did Hollywood Squares come about?
there was I just did game shows every weekend. I mean,
Right.
that was like, there were so many
Yeah.
body language, and I can't even remember all of them. But every
Pyramid, right?
weekend, oh yeah, and
Yeah.
and they had all these celebrities from all these shows, and that you could keep busy every weekend and go
Yeah.
do a game show or two.
Right.
So I had guessed it on the Hollywood Squares Match Game Hour.
Okay.
Because the 70s Hollywood Squares ended in
Right.
like 1980
Yeah.
or something like that, and Paul Lynde passed away.
Yeah.
And then they brought back the Hollywood Squares Match Game in like 1982 or 83, and it was both shows put together, and you played
Yeah.
both games. And then in 1980 five or six, they relaunched Hollywood Squares with John Davison and Joan Rivers, Shadow Stevens,
Right.
and I was not a part of the original launch of that. I guessed it, and they were like, "Oh my God, you need to be on this show all
Yeah.
the time." And so then they added me onto that show, and
Right.
I was the upper right hand square.
Yeah. Right. And then I think you did the square like when Joan wasn't there or something like that, right?
Right. I would
Yeah.
every once in a while get guests in the center. And
Yeah.
there were 2 weeks where I hosted. John Davison had hurt himself,
Right.
and they asked me to host. And that was terrifying and exhilarating at the
Yeah.
same time.
I could imagine. Yeah. Driving the show there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great experience.
Yeah. How nerve-wracking was getting up to your square with those like spiral staircase?
Oh, again, like I was like Mercury. I was
Right.
like in Terminator. That's what I'm thinking
Yeah.
of when the liquid
Yeah,
mercury
exactly.
cop.
Robert Patrick. Yeah.
Yes, I had no problem. I
Yeah.
would literally monkey bar down. I wouldn't even use the spiral staircase.
Right.
They had me monkey bar down several times. One
Yeah.
time into Milton Berle's Square when he was there in the center square, and I think back on that and I think, wow, that was awfully daring of them to let me
Exactly.
do that. In case I hurt myself, it could
Right.
have been, I mean, they were always they parasailed me in the Bahamas for an entire show. I was up there for an hour.
Right. Yeah.
I never parasailed in my life.
Right. Yeah.
They would just say, whatever, if you want to do it, do it. Just don't
Right.
hurt yourself.
Yeah. Right. No, yeah, those remotes are great. I remember you and John did parody of Fantasy Island at one time. Yeah.
Yes, yes. That was so. I hit him in the nuts
Yeah.
because we shot that on the beach in the Bahamas, and they buried me into up to my knees or something, and so I was tattoo, and he was
Mr.
Ricardo
Rourke.
Montalban,
Yeah.
and they had a seaplane, a literal seaplane, and they were flying the celebrities in on this seaplane. So it'd be like, boss, the plane, and I, the morning sun was literally blinding, and I couldn't see, and I just turned to grab what I thought was his coat lapel, and I hit him in the nuts so hard. I mean, we had to stop. And of course, he had to recover. And then we had to recover because it was so very funny.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Who was like your favorite square neighbor?
Oh, God. I loved Phyllis Diller.
Right. Sure.
Uh, Zhao Zhao Gabor
Right.
was always, it was like, I mean, I grew up with those people,
Yeah.
I was like 8
Right.
watching Phyllis
Yeah.
Diller. And, here I am working with them. It was very exciting to get to meet because all the oldie goldies did Hollywood Squares.
Yeah.
And the young ones like Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt he hadn't even done that River movie yet that
Oh
made
yeah.
him a
River
star.
runs through it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was, I think, still guesting on television shows. But he was on there. It's hard to nail it down and
Right.
say who was my favorite. Of course, Joan Rivers was. Um, she was such a friend to me
Right.
and so good to me and really liked me and I really liked her.
Yeah.
So that was special that I got to know her in that kind of in a closer way.
Right. Yeah. No, she was brilliant. Absolutely.
She was indeed. She
Yeah. Her
was.
show was great. And anytime she, guest or guest starred or guest hosted, I should say, on Tonight Show was amazing as well. And
Oh
her own
yeah.
show. And yeah.
I mean, she was so screwed with that, and
Yeah.
it was so unfortunate that her Big Fox late night show didn't, it was, I think, squelched.
Yeah.
So anyway,
And
she
that,
was a brilliant woman.
yeah. And that kind of ended like her relationship with Johnny Carson, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then she had that her husband Edgar killed himself,
Yeah.
and just all that horrible things that happened to her. And she was an amazing survivor. I've worked with a lot of survivors. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about Tammy Faye, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking what a survivor she was,
Right.
and Joan Rivers, a survivor,
Yeah.
and anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. And I was going to talk about Tammy Faye, but since you brought it up, I mean, it was
I
such an
jumped.
interesting pairing. So how did that come about?
Wow, that was interesting pairing. Uh, I was up in Toronto shooting a series called Boogie's Diner,
Yes.
and I get a call from Dan Weber, and he said to me, "Would you possibly be interested in a co-host situation of a daytime talk show?" And it's like, oh my god, it was like 1995, and I mean, well, everyone had talk shows in the mid
Yeah,
'90s,
exactly.
But he said, "Well, let's meet. So when you're here again, I'll take you out for coffee." So we went out for coffee, and I'm sitting there, and like, who is it? Who is not telling me? And it's like, who is it? And I'm thinking, could it be this person, this
Mm.
person, this person? And at the end, he says, "Okay, well, we're thinking about Tammy Faye Baker." And I went, my honest reaction was, "But she's fucking crazy." And that just fell out of my mouth. I didn't know her. I had only seen her on PTL, and I thought she's crazy. Uh, and the makeup and everything, and anyway, he said, "Well, would you meet with her?" And I said, "I'm gay. Of course, I would meet with her. Oh my god, she's like Tammy Faye." So they arranged this meeting at Fox Studio and in the offices, not in a studio.
Right.
and the offices, like fluorescent lighting and a plastic plant in the corner and a couple of chairs. And they, upon meeting her, I just was taken back because she was so pretty. And she still had the makeup and everything, but her skin was like porcelain. I mean, her hair was tragic. But other than that, her eyes were just crystal blue, just gorgeous, gorgeous eyes. And she was so lovely. And it's like we were separated at birth. We were just immediately just and like gabbing and having fun. And so they, gave us a couple of tabloids, and they said, okay, well, we're going to set up a camera here, which was like a a personal
Right.
video
Camcorder.
camera that you
Yeah.
had, nothing fancy, no lighting, just awful lighting. And they said, if you guys would take these tabloids and give us a host chat and a beginning and a middle and an end. And so it was go. And I mean, it was action. And I mean, it was effortless, effortless. And we did that. And that was that. And we went our own ways. And then they started putting that little tape into focus groups. When Fox would have these focus groups,
Right.
they say, okay, here's this new, mega million dollar show that we've got coming out, and here's this new sitcom, and here's this, and oh yeah, here's this, and 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 they take people's response from these focus groups, and everyone was saying, "What was that talk show with Jim J Bullock and Tammy
Yeah.
Faye? We want to see more of that." So that started the ball rolling, and for like 6 months we did live, not taped for airing, but they were. We shot them live on a Friday afternoon, and the audiences would be waiting around the block. It was mostly industry people that knew about
Yeah.
this, and people were eating it up. And we made a pilot, and the pilot sold, and that's how that came about. And we did have great chemistry.
Right.
I really understood where Tammy was so much because that's the life I grew up in, and I'm still Christian. I'm still, but I grew up in that Southern Baptist sort of strict religious in, doctrine.
Right. Yeah. I didn't even realize that Jim Bakker was still alive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And I gotta say this about that. Everyone, he paid his price. He
Right.
definitely
Yeah.
lost everything and had to go to jail, prison,
Right.
and he paid his price. And so I went. Everyone, we all deserve many, many, many chances. God knows I've been given chances
Right.
every day. I'm given a new chance.
Right.
And so I was like, maybe he'll pick himself up and get on one, and then he does, but in the same way that he did before, just
Yeah.
kind of like didn't evolve,
Right. No,
which
it's
was
a shame.
unfortunate.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame because you look at like all those, evangelist, shows that are on now. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
you don't
I
know what
mean,
to believe.
where Tammy did evolve,
Right.
I really think during the time I knew her and
Yeah.
afterwards, after the show ended until her death, she was constantly in evolution about who she was,
Yeah.
and her faith was never veered. She was very sincere about her love of Jesus and everything. But she was just I think she was a really cool woman.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a shame because I mean that show could have, blew
Oh
up
my
even
God.
more. Yeah.
It could have, and it was very unfortunate that that she had to leave because of her illness.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that they didn't market it better because it had where it was showing in the major markets, it
Yeah.
did really well.
Right.
But you put it in the smaller markets, the Midwest especially, where people were like going, how could you give that woman her own show? Like, she took my parents' money. She took my
Right.
grandparents' money. And I
Right.
understand that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned Boogie's Diner before, and I went to school up in Buffalo, and we would get the Canadian channels kind of, come down through the border, and that's when the show was actually on, Boogie's Diner. So I remember like
Oh,
catching a couple episodes. Yeah,
well,
it's like
it
a Saved
had
by the Bell type of show.
it was very, very much Saved by the
Yeah,
Bell. And James Marsden,
right.
who
Yeah,
was Jimmy Marsden, that was his
right.
first series, and Monica Schneer, and there were a lot of people, Zach Ward, and
Yeah,
a lot of great people involved in that. And we had a ball, and we
right.
shot 2 seasons up
Yeah,
there, and then it kind of went its own
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I,
Well,
I
yeah,
had
you're like one of the few
one
living
of the
that have ever
few.
seen
Yeah,
Boogie's Diner.
yeah. I had a Matthew Gottfried on a few years ago. I remember he was on the show for a couple episodes. So yeah,
Really? Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
yeah. So, but my all-time favorite show is Seinfeld, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, I pretty much go to sleep between that and Golden Girls every night. That's like my comfort. And I know you were in one episode. You played a flight attendant in the airport episode. So just talk about that role. I mean, it was a couple scenes, but I mean, it's so relatable because I feel like flight attendants, and I have a friend who's one, they're like babysitters for like 100 people or more for like two
Yeah.
hours, sometimes more, because everyone on a plane is miserable. And the fact that they have to deal with, people like that for, hours on end. So did you research the role or you kind of just, winged it?
Oh hell no. But I tell you what, I was the voice. I was sort of dubbed the voice of flight attendants for a few years after that, because I had so many flight attendants that would say, "Oh my God, you did what I always wanted to do.
Right.
You acted like I always want to act, but I can't because
Right.
that's
Exactly.
my job to be
Yeah.
nice." But yeah, that was a great experience. I didn't even. I think they offered that to me. I don't even think I remember going in and auditioning for it.
Yeah.
And Seinfeld was the hottest show on TV, and
Right.
I was so excited to get to be on that show. I did Roseanne,
Right.
and that was during when it was sizzling.
Yeah.
But Seinfeld was hot when I did it,
Right.
and I just remember my call time was like some hideous like 7:30. Because in sitcom world,
Right.
you go to work at maybe 11,
Okay.
and you sit around having cigarettes and coffee
Yeah.
for an hour, and then you maybe dabble a little, and then you're at home by 4, and then you shoot on a Friday night,
Right.
and you're out by 7:30. So none of this early hours, no.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm called in at like 7:30, some hideous time, and they make me up, and then they send me on the other side of the moon to my little trailer
Right.
that was very far away, and I smoked back then,
Okay.
and left me there until about 5:30,
Wow.
and I had smoked maybe 3 packs of cigarettes,
Okay.
as disgusting as that is, but I
Yeah.
was so nervous. I was
Right.
just so nervous, and I was in this little trailer, and I had to do something. I had to.
Yeah.
So finally, they called me, and it was a blur after that. I mean, I just remember walking onto the set and seeing the fuselage, and getting on it, and meeting Elaine, and meeting Jerry, and uh, I think those were the only two
Yeah.
characters that were in what I did.
Right.
Uh, Everyone was super duper nice, but
Yeah.
they were done. They
Okay.
had worked all day, and they
Yeah.
wanted to like get this done and get out of
Right.
there. And so it was quick, and it was over with, and it was like, what? What is that?
Yeah.
But boy, let me tell you, what how wonderful it was to get to do a show like that, because that's like a Law and Order. It's
Yeah.
it's everywhere. You can turn
Exactly.
TV on right now, and I
Yeah.
can turn that on,
It'll be
pull
on.
it up right now.
Yep.
The multiple channels.
Yeah.
So the little residual check I get,
Mm.
is very nice,
Nice.
because over the years, I mean,
Right.
it's just continuously,
Yeah.
coming in. So same for Roseanne,
Right.
and Spaceballs. Spaceballs
Yeah.
was like, oh my God,
Right.
that residual check is really sweet.
Yeah. And I love Spaceballs. I'm a big Star Wars fan anyway, but when that came out and spoofed Star Wars, it was fantastic. And your role, I mean, it's a little role, but Prince Valium, but it's amazing. It's just, it's because you're so, dealing with, Dick Van Patten of all people, and like, the cast, Joan Rivers. I'm sure you didn't meet her because they just voiced her, but
Yeah, I didn't meet her. I
yeah.
did meet John
Oh,
Candy.
that's good.
I met all the principals because I was supposed to be the groom.
Yeah.
I mean, again, let me tell you about the audition for that. I went
Right.
over and I to Mel Brooks, to MGM, to his office, and I was so terrified to meet him. He was like, "Oh my God, Mel Brooks," and I don't remember being able to. Well, I had so few lines
Right.
because I yawned
Yeah,
most of the time. It'd be like,
exactly.
"Come back," or "Where have you been?"
Yeah.
or something like that. But what can you do with that? And I remember going over to his office and I was so nervous. I just couldn't sit still. I just couldn't, I couldn't. He said, let's read this. And I would just get so nervous. And even though I had little yawns and things like that, and it was like at one point he goes, I don't know what you do, kid, but I'm giving you this part. But, you
Yeah.
know, uh, but on the set, getting to meet everyone. And
Yeah.
John Candy, I
Right.
remember him
Yeah.
specifically because he actually came out of his way to come over to me and say,
Okay.
you know what? Me and my family, we loved Too Close for
Oh,
Comfort. We
wow.
watched every episode, and we were such a fan of the show. And I just remember him saying that, and that made me feel so good because when you join a film that has been in production for 3 or 4 months,
Right.
everyone's already established relationships and a family,
Yeah.
and then you're coming in for a week of work, and it's sort of the outsider coming in,
Yeah.
and it can be uh, isolating.
Right. But I'm glad everyone was accommodating. That's great.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
they were.
Yeah. And they're working on the sequel. Have they reached out to you yet?
No, they haven't, and I haven't. I'm not one to like write Mel Brooks, and I'm
Yeah.
just not.
Right.
As a matter of fact, Josh Gad is directing it,
Yeah.
and I um, um, what do you call it when you marry people? Officiated.
Oh,
I
okay.
officiated a wedding this time last year,
Right.
and he was at the wedding,
Okay.
and so we were at the reception together, and I never ever had the nerve to go up to him. I knew he was directing Spaceballs,
Yeah.
but I never had the nerve to go up to him. I'm a fan of his anyway.
Right. No, he's great.
I'm such a fan of the
Yeah.
Book of Mormon, and I just, if nothing else, would have loved to have just said, "I'm such a fan of yours."
Yeah.
Aside from, by the way, I
Exactly. I
hear,
hear you're making this movie.
you're,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe you're going to have, Prince Valium back. So we'll see if they do. If it'll be great.
Yeah.
If they don't, then it's okay to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hopefully, because comedy sequels never hold up. I hope this does. It's a long time coming. I know the anticipation's building, and I just hope that it's good because, the track record of sequels, comedic sequels isn't
Yeah,
great. So
can be really not good, but I don't know. I'm hoping for the best.
yeah. Yeah. I forgot that what the show was called, but he did a show with Billy Crystal about 10
Who?
years ago, Josh Gad. It was on FX, and I forgot the name of the show. It was a weird pairing, but it actually worked. It was only
Oh,
on for a season. I forgot what it was called. I gotta check it. Check
I
it
didn't
out.
see that.
Yeah, but if you check both their IMDb's, it'll match up. But I forgot the name of the show, but it was interesting because it was just like a weird pairing, but it was
He is one funny man. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. So what was Alf like? That whole experience?
Well, Alf was uh, uh, I was very excited.
Yeah,
This was after Hollywood Squares
right.
ended, and uh, and then Alf was another uh, network show, and it was like, wow, once you have a network show and you get off, you go, wow, how does that ever happen again
Right.
for me? you know. I mean, because Hollywood Squares was syndication,
Right.
so it wasn't a network necessarily. So to get back on another network show, and anyway, it happened, and I really was not right for the role, but I had a very influential manager at the time who was very connected
Okay.
to the heads that be, and I they took me on, where really the other person really would have been much more what they were looking for, because here I come from Hollywood Squares, with my blonde hair uh, and over the topness and
Yeah.
dare I say gayness,
Right.
and I go into this character, and they're first off, okay, we got to color the hair, and it's like, if you knew how many thousands of dollars
Right.
it's gone into this hair, and the thousands of dollars that went back into making it blonde
Oh, I'm
after that
sure.
ended. But uh, but uh, they just kept trying to change me. They
Right.
were never happy with what I did, and I never felt like like I could really just bring what I bring.
Yeah.
And so I felt suppressed the entire
Yeah.
time I was on there.
Okay.
But in answer to your question, it was great to be on a network show
Right.
again.
Yeah.
Uh, I, I thought it was a good group of people. It was they were all, unlike Too Close for Comfort, where we were so, when we would go on break, we would all go to a common table
Right.
and sit and talk. Where that show, people just sort
Yeah.
of went to their dressing rooms,
So
and it was,
yeah.
wasn't a lot of fun in that sense.
Right. Yeah. You said suppressed. That's a good word, because I would have said like you were kind of shackled in that role. You know.
Yeah, yeah, I was, and again, that's just, I'm saying, I just think that they went with the wrong actor. I
Right.
really, the other guy was so much
Yeah.
just. I know him.
Okay.
Sorry, can't remember his name,
Right.
but he was so much more what they wanted.
Yeah. Right.
Damn.
Yeah. But you're not going to turn that role, so never mind.
No, hell
Yeah.
no.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hell no.
Right.
When I got that call, it wasn't like I was sitting there going, "Yeah, you know what? You need to call, what's his face, and offer him the role."
Yeah. Right.
Oh my God.
Exactly. Right. They want a Jim J Bullock type, but I don't want to be the Jim J Bullock type. So yeah, yeah. So Al was already on Hollywood Squares right before you guest starred on his show.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did he
So
remember you?
I
Did he
met Paul and all of them.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be hard to have been on Hollywood Squares in the '80s and
Yeah.
not be aware of me, because I
Yeah.
was so everywhere.
Right.
I would crawl into everyone's square. I
Right.
didn't know them.
Yeah.
Like, hi, how are you? Just so big and gay.
Yeah. Yeah. I had such a crush on Debbie Gibson. I mean, I still do actually, all these years later. And I remember she was on the show too.
She was, and she
Yeah.
was so sweet. She was
Yeah.
Deborah back then.
Yeah.
No, she was
She was
Debbie then.
Debbie. Yeah.
Now she's Deborah.
Yeah.
But she was lovely. We saw each other as friends for a time after that. Then it was really another cool thing about Hollywood Squares is you'd get to meet all these people.
Right.
You would end up going to dinners and going to their house, or they're coming to your house or whatever. So it was, I kind of hobnobbed with, I've never been good at hobnobbing.
Right.
Most of my friends were actors that were out of work, and I was comfortable
Yeah.
with them and not going to the Hollywood parties. But
Right.
during the Hollywood Squares years, I definitely felt like I really got to partake.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. I know you mentioned like before, like Phyllis Diller and like Milton Berle and Joan Rivers. Was there anyone besides them that you were kind of like starstruck to meet?
Well, I mean, uh, Phyllis Diller, I was starstruck.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
of course, people are going to hear this podcast and go, "Who?"
No, this show, people don't know who Phyllis Diller is.
Phyllis Diller.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember who all was on Hollywood Squares.
Right.
I can't.
Yeah.
There were so many.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's fun to go back and watch just the old episodes of it and just see
It is.
who was
It,
on there
it,
and
it
stuff.
really is fun. It's really such a so telling of the decade. Like
Yeah.
the whole end squares was so 70s and
Right.
so drenched in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then the 80s, we were our show. And then the 2010s was the Whoopi.
Yeah.
The
2000.
2000s
Yeah. I
was the
think. Yeah.
Whoopi.
Right.
Yeah. Or the
Yeah.
90s. I don't, it was the
What?
90s. I was in the 80s. Whoopi's was the 90s.
90s.
Then there was
Okay.
the short-lived 2010. And now I don't even know, is it doing well with
I
Drew
don't know.
Barrymore?
Oh, I didn't even know that Drew Barrymore was doing it.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh
back
wow.
on air,
Oh,
and
okay.
she's the center square, and she's a executive producer.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I watched it one time,
Right.
and to me, it's like Hollywood Squares is sort of like in this day and age where we know everything about everybody, and
Yeah.
we see them all the time. Back in the day, it was fun to see Betty White being dirty in a square,
Right.
you know, you because that was a real Betty White. She
Yeah.
wasn't this prim and proper thing, So you'd get to see the stars behind their out of their characters
Yeah.
and a little bit more who they were.
Right.
And now that's just so everywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's working or not.
Right. Yeah. And you kind of mentioned like we know everything about everybody now. Were you kind of happy that like, social media and like TMZ wasn't around like back in the 80s for you?
Oh, oh my God. Oh, cell phones,
Yeah. Exactly.
cameras.
Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah. Yeah, no. It is there's something gained, something lost, and it would have been fun to have had uh video or footage of certain things.
Right.
But then there's so many things that I'm so grateful,
Yeah. Right.
that there was not a camera catching me in action.
Right. Sure. Yeah. So I had a couple years ago, I actually went to Mike Reese's apartment to do an interview with him.
Oh, I
And
love
yeah, I
Mike.
love and like Queer Duck it's so funny. I mean, it's still holds up today. It's like three
Sure
minute three
does.
minute episode that's perfect. You can watch binge all of it in an hour and you're done. How did you get the role?
I read for it. I
Okay.
went in. Again, I didn't know anything. It's like what? It's like my agent said you're going in for the gay duck, and it's like, oh, okay. So it's called Queer Duck,
Yeah.
and I'm the duck, and yeah, okay. So I went in, and there was just a slew of people
Mm.
there, and all I remember about it is I used to say, "Oh my gay God!" That's something I used to say all the time, and I
Right.
threw that into the reading. I said something like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gay God," and I could just see them laughing. And I think that's what got me the role. And then they use that. They would say, "Oh my gay God!" They would get, "Oh
Yeah.
my gay stars."
Right.
They had all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, Queer Duck was boy. That was
Yeah.
I love doing voiceover work.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Right.
So creative, just so creative.
Yeah. And you were a Jewish doc too. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great cast.
Oh my,
Uh,
RuPaul and like,
God,
yeah.
so many people.
Yeah. I think I had Nick Jameson on and I think he did a couple of things on there too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Did you guys
yeah.
record together or was it all separate?
It would depend.
Okay.
When they did the movie, there was a movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that. No
Yeah.
one did, which was super sad, unfortunate because it was like a full feature length
Yeah.
film, and I was actually doing Hairspray on Broadway at the
Okay.
time, so I was in studio pretty much myself
Right.
doing my stuff. But when we did it in LA, it would be a lot of the voiceover actors and
Okay.
the other talent that
Right.
would be there reading, and it was like a play.
Yeah. Would you get through it on like a couple takes? Because I mean, I'm sure you guys had to bust out laughing a couple
Oh
of
yes, of
times.
course. I mean, those voiceover guys,
Yeah.
they're brilliant, and they've just got can pull
Right.
things,
Yeah.
and change on a dime.
Right.
And oh my God,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was fun, fun,
Yeah.
fun.
Right. Yeah. Well, obviously Mike Reeves coming from The Simpsons, so I mean, he knew, the
Yeah,
animated world anyway. But yeah, no, the show was great. I could say your career is kind of generational in my family because one of my favorite, oldest son's gonna be 21 soon, and he still watches Fairly Odd Parents religiously, and I watch it with him occasionally. And I know you did one role on there,
I
only
did.
one episode with Mr. Blux Plenty.
I don't even remember it.
Okay,
I really don't. The only reason I know the name is
yeah,
I get residual checks for
great.
like 12 cents
That's right.
from Fairly Odd Parents.
Yeah, Fairly
That's the
Odd
name of it.
Parents. Yeah,
Yeah, and I do have a pretty good memory of what I've done. It's not
right.
all gone yet,
Yeah,
but I literally cannot remember what that show was about
right.
or doing it or when I did it.
Yeah,
But hey,
yeah. As long as those 12-cent checks keep on coming, right?
yeah. And Ned's Declassified
Yeah.
on Nickelodeon. That's another show that I got to be a part of. And uh, that was a brilliant show.
Yeah, yeah,
Just so well done.
yeah,
And it still plays
yeah,
in, syndication and creates kind of a whole new group of people that are younger that will,
yeah,
you know, especially when I go to these shows, will go, oh, Mr. Monroe. And it's like,
yeah.
oh my God.
Right. Was that a coincidence, or did they like write that to be your name on
Yeah,
purpose?
they said, do you
Yeah,
mind if we use
yeah,
Monroe as your last name and call
yeah,
you Mr. Monroe? And I said,
right.
that's fine with me.
Yeah.
So,
No, it was a good callback. Yeah, the gym teacher, right? That's what you were, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
No.
was the, um, something to do with babies.
Oh, okay.
Oh God, I can't remember the name of the
Okay.
character, but the type of what my
Yeah.
job was. But in life science, no, I don't know, something like
Okay.
that. But
Something like
something to do with
hygiene teacher or
babies,
something like that, whatever, something like
something. And
that. Yeah.
yes, I had a
Yeah.
lot of babies,
Right.
little baby
Right.
dolls.
Yeah. Right. And you mentioned like, hairspray and like you've done Geeking Boots and stuff like that. Do you prefer to be on stage over like the screen?
Hell no. I mean, theater. I love theater, and there's nothing like it. It's a totally different animal, but you have to work so hard. 8 shows a week is not
Right.
easy, and it's it's for much less money.
Right.
I mean, it can be much more satisfying, I think,
Right. Yeah.
but it depends on the part you have and
Right.
everything. But no, if I had my druthers, I'd give me another game show,
Yeah.
or another sitcom or
Right.
something,
Yeah.
And I'm not. I'm really more or less retired. I'm not pursuing it anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't, put it past something possibly happening again because that's just been so the way it's been for me.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean,
I mean,
hopefully like they'll come to you and, they know your work, they know how amazing you are and everything you've done. So, yeah.
yeah, get to do shows like yours. I mean, it's like
No,
people can
can
go,
you can
oh,
only go up from after this. This is what rock bottom is truly.
no, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. But before we go, I have to ask you, can you tell me about the LBJ story in Texas?
Oh my God. Oh wow. You've done some research. Well, we used to live in Kingsland, Texas, which was on Lake LBJ, and my dad and mom, they had a lake lodge,
Right.
and so it was on the Llano River, and across the river and up the river just a little bit was LBJ's Lake Ranch.
Right.
So he would come. He was in office then, and he would come, and there would always be just an enclave of Secret Service boats and everything.
Yeah.
So it was one winter, and my brother and I were water skiing, and he went around the bend, and I got tired. And I threw the rope up, and I figured he'd at some point look back and see that I wasn't there anymore. So I'm just standing, in the water, holding my ski. There's no one around because it's sort of winter, but it's not cold. It was
Right.
no one was on the lake for that time. But then all of a sudden, all these Secret Service boats just started coming up and surrounding me, and then LBJ's comes up, and he I didn't know it was him, but he leans over and he goes, "You need a ride, kid?" And I was holding my ski like, no, Sir President, I didn't even know what to call him,
Right.
And in his boat was Lady Bird and two of his daughters. And I think, you fool, why would you not say, yeah, please, take me back to my house and get to ride with the president?
Yeah.
But
Right.
that was my brush with greatness.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. But I wonder if another certain president would offer you a ride, you would turn them down now.
I doubt it very
Yeah.
seriously.
Right. Yeah. But Jim, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much and happy Halloween.
Hey, happy Halloween to you too. And thank you so much for having me on your show. I really enjoyed talking with you.
And a special thanks to Jim for joining me today. Check out episodes of Too Close for Comfort. The entire series is on Tubi. And if you have a guest suggestion, you can hit me up on X, formerly Twitter, at @thepersonal19. And be sure to like the page Reliving My Youth on Facebook. You can go to iTunes to check out all the past episodes we've had. While you're there, please rate and review the show. I would really appreciate it. If you don't have iTunes, not a problem. It goes on SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, YouTube, basically wherever you can find a podcast. A new episode will come out soon. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you then.